From the moment he first laid eyes on Sophia, James was smitten. They were in the same university group, yet they couldn't be more different. Sophia was the shy, reserved type, while James was the adventurous, popular guy who everyone wanted to be around. Although he adored her deeply, he kept those feelings under wraps, fearing the reaction of his peers. Consequently, his love for her stayed bottled up, remaining one-sided and concealed. After university, their paths diverged significantly. Sophia stayed put in their hometown, whereas James, upon completing his internship, snagged a job offer from a company in a neighboring city and took it without a second thought. The years went by without them crossing paths, each leading their own separate lives. Then, out of the blue, their former group leader proposed a reunion to celebrate the 10th anniversary of their graduation. That night marked the beginning of a whirlwind of events that would change everything. Then James, having indulged in one too many drinks, revealed his long-standing affection for Sophia, to which she reciprocated with a kiss and whispered that she too had been longing for such a revelation. The dormant sparks of their youthful affection ignited anew with fervent intensity. James, caught up in the moment, suggested that Sophia should move in with him. However, Sophia hesitated and instead proposed a return to the status quo. Her decision was heavily influenced by her professional commitments and the responsibility of caring for her aging parents, whom she couldn't bear to leave behind. Consequently, they continued their romance from afar, maintaining a connection across city lines and reuniting over weekend visits. As time marched on, a year swiftly slipped by. One particular day, upon James's arrival at Sophia's residence, he was taken aback to discover another man in the premises. Sophia quickly introduced him as a distant kin who was temporarily seeking refuge under her roof. "He's in a bit of a pickle. You see, my mom asked if I could lend a hand," Sophia explained, her voice tinged with remorse. James, visibly disappointed, questioned why she hadn't forewarned him of her company, especially since he had anticipated a secluded weekend just with her. "Otherwise, you could have swung by my place, or I might have come to yours," she responded casually, her lips curving into a reassuring smile. "Don't fret, he won't cramp our style." Sophia quickly pecked James on the cheek. "It's only Benjamin, after all." For half a year longer, Benjamin shared a home with Sophia. During that time, James gradually grew accustomed to his presence, eventually feeling as though Benjamin wasn't a disturbance at all. He particularly appreciated how Sophia made more frequent visits. On one occasion, she even took a week off to spend exclusively with him. That week was etched in James's memory, cherished with a gentle fondness. One night, as they lay in bed, James caressed Sophia's arm and remarked, "You were so reserved back in our university days. Yet each day I spend with you unveils more of how misleading my initial perceptions were." Sophia chuckled in response, finding joy in these tranquil moments, sharing whispers and laughter with her beloved as they drifted off to sleep. It dawned on James through these intimate nightly conversations. He was wholeheartedly prepared to build a lifelong future with Sophia. Envisioning from miniature scenes to her expected joyful surprise, he meticulously planned his marriage proposal. Pleased with his blueprint and buoyed by a wave of enthusiasm, he set about bringing his vision to fruition. Once all preparations were complete, the ring secured, and a holiday booked for a seaside retreat, James decided to surprise Sophia ahead of their agreed schedule. They hadn't laid eyes on each other for weeks, thanks to James's business travel. "Hey babe, how's it going?" James called Sophia, his heart pounding. "I'm good, heading home from work right now. Not a great time to chat. Can I call you back?" She responded hurriedly. Confirming she'd be home, James hastily tossed his belongings into the car and sped towards her, eager to close the gap between them. He rolled in well past midnight, cradling a humongous bouquet he had picked up earlier. Sophia had drifted off to slumber by then. Ringing the doorbell repeatedly, he finally woke her up. Her eyes widened with joy as she saw him, and she leaped into his arms, showering him with embraces. "I've missed you so much," she beamed, her smile lighting up the dim hallway. They spent the entire night catching up and reveling in each other's presence. At dawn, James broached the topic of Friday night plans. Learning she had none, he quickly suggested dinner at a fancy restaurant. Over the moon, she agreed. So, where's Benjamin? Sophia residing with someone else crossed James's mind. Oh, Benjamin. He's been swamped with work, she deflected, busying herself. James, lost in love, didn't give it another thought. With an important event looming, James's nerves were on edge. Friday crept closer, and his meticulously crafted plans started to feel mundane and lackluster. Sitting at the restaurant table that evening, doubts flooded his mind. The moment felt anything but perfect. Battling his hesitation, he filled their glasses with champagne, produced the ring, and blurted out, "Will you marry me, Sophia?" Sophia's expression morphed from shock to shimmering tears. She nodded quickly, extending her hand for the ring. Elation swept over them both, binding them even closer. During the wedding preparations, Benjamin finally vacated Sophia's apartment. He had no choice but to do so because Sophia agreed to accompany James to his city and sell her own place. The preparations were in full swing, with the wedding only a month away. James had become so accustomed to traveling between cities that he couldn't believe it would soon come to an end, and Sophia would become his wife and live with him. This thought delighted him so much that he bloomed with happiness, his smile radiant. On that particular day, the weather was dreadful, and the journey proved to be arduous for James. Angry and utterly exhausted, he parked the car in Sophia's yard before heading up to her apartment. Carelessly tossing the keys onto the shelf, James entered the room to find Sophia sitting there, crying her heart out. "Darling," James forgot his own troubles in that moment and hurriedly approached her. "What's wrong?" "I have something to confess," she choked out through her tears. "What is it?" He was taken aback. Her next words hit him like a thunderbolt. In that moment, James understood the weight of the age-old saying about words having the power to deeply wound and even kill. Her words were tantamount to killing him. "I cheated on you. I wanted to tell you myself. I can't bear to lie anymore. Benjamin is blackmailing me. You cheated on me with someone in our family." James's head spun, and he instinctively wrapped his arms around her to steady himself. "No, not a family member. He's my childhood friend, the son of my mom's close friend. We were sitting together one night, having an intimate conversation, and I lost track of how we ended up in the same bed. It only happened once, and I pleaded with him to forget it, to never bring it up again. But he started to threaten me, saying he would tell you everything. He forced me to do it again and again." Sophia burst into uncontrollable tears. Her sobs choked her words, making it impossible for her to speak further. James plopped down beside Sophia on the couch, and the reality of the situation washed over him. It was a complex affair. On one hand, he pitied Sophia, who was being extorted, but on the flip side, he grasped that it was a consensual act. No matter how you sliced it, Sophia had chosen this path, leaving no room for justifications. After sharing the space in silence for a bit, James finally broke it and said, "I get you, Sophia." With that, he stood up and left. He didn't take the ring that night, but later, Sophia handed it over via his parents. When he finally got it, it ended up in a pawn shop because he couldn't bear to keep such a painful reminder. The token of a love that broke him was something he needed to rid himself of. He called off the wedding, the restaurant reservation, and the host. It was a painful and embarrassing decision to make. He felt as though everyone was aware of the reasons behind it, which only added to his anguish. The only aspect James didn't cancel was his trip to the seaside, which brought him unexpected joy as that's where he encountered Mia, his subsequent wife and mother of their 2 children. Trusting Mia proved to be challenging for him, but he managed to overcome his fears, constructing a new, loving relationship based on trust. However, Sophia found it hard to forgive herself for her error. She endeavored to find a replacement for James, but to no avail. She incessantly monitored his social media accounts, agonizing over her responsibility for what had transpired. Eventually, Sophia got hitched and experienced temporary happiness with her husband until she stumbled upon his stash of women's undergarments in the car. It was through her own painful encounter with betrayal that she comprehended the cruel punishments fate can inflict upon those who betray their partners. That concludes our story. Please share your thoughts on the character's behavior and this situation in the comments. Thank you for staying till the end of the story. Don't forget to subscribe to the Stories for You channel and give this video a thumbs up. Your support is greatly appreciated. Take care and farewell.